Okay, picking up with slide number 5. Let's talk a little bit here about the exercises for this class. Now, if you read the syllabus, you probably noticed in the grading section that there are 5 exercises. And if I remember correctly, they are worth 20 points each, and they are, so that adds up to 100 points, and that's, I think, 10% or something like that of your grade. So these 5 exercises are the chromatic scale, which we're going to get into here today, and hammer-ons and pull-offs, arpeggio pattern 1, arpeggio pattern 2. Okay, so we will learn and practice these exercises and actually also scales, which we'll talk about in 2 or 3 weeks, I think. Well, the chromatic scale is a scale, but when I say the scales, there are also those 5 major scales in the syllabus. Don't worry about those yet. We're going to get to those, like I said, in 2 or 3 weeks. So the way these exercises will work, we're going to learn and practice them, new ones every week. By the end of the semester, you should be fairly adept at each of these exercises, and for your grade, you'll have to record yourself playing them, and then you'll record and upload them onto Canvas, and then I can give you a grade for them. So let's move here onto slide number 6. Let's get into what I'm going to call here the chromatic scale part 1. Now, for the chromatic scale, eventually, we're going to play something like this. Okay? So today, though, we're just going to do one little part of this chromatic scale. And we're going to play basically... Okay? So, chromatic scale part 1. So let's learn how to play, we'll play it up. All right? That means from here to there. So, first off, just play the open E string, right? In other words, just play the first string. Okay, that's the first note of this chromatic scale that we're going to learn. Next, play the first fret of the first string with your first finger, right? In other words, you're going to play an F, okay? All right, so that's the next note of the chromatic scale. Now, the very next note, we're going to play the second fret with our second finger. Now, remember on guitar, your second finger is in reference to your middle finger. So now we're going to play the second fret with your second finger, and it's on the first string still, right? All these are on the first string. Okay? Now, next, you're going to use your third finger to play the third fret, and going to pluck the first string. Okay? In other words, that's a G, if you remember. All right? Next, we're going to go fourth finger on the fourth fret. And by the way, if you haven't guessed already, your fourth finger is your pinky finger. Okay? And that's going to go on the fourth fret. So you're going to push the first string down to the fourth fret, in other words. All right? So let's just practice those one more time. Okay? So first off, open E. Okay? Then first fret of the first string with your first finger. F, in other words. Then play the second fret with your second finger. Okay. Then play use your third finger to push down the first string to the third fret. All right. and then pluck the first string. In other words, that's G. And then use your fourth finger to push down the first string to the fourth fret. All right? Okay? So that's how you play the chromatic scale part 1, playing it up. All right? So that's 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? So go ahead and practice that. You can go ahead and pause this video. Practice that until you feel comfortable with it. Remember that about using proper technique, right? You want to play anytime you fret a note. For example, if I play an F, right? Remember that I want to play right next to the fret, just like this. Right here. Not back here, not on top of the fret, and not past the fret. I want to play just right behind the fret, okay? That way I get a good tone, right? If I'm getting a tone that kind of sounds like this, like probably many of you are, you got to get your finger in the correct place, right? So get it right next to the fret. Okay, and that goes for each one of these notes of the chromatic scale. So when I play the second fret, my second finger it's right next to the second fret. When I play the third fret, same thing. It's right next to the third fret. And when I play the fourth fret, same thing, right next to the fourth fret. Okay, so we don't want this kind of muffled sound. We don't want this buzzy sound like that. We want a good, clean tone like that. Okay, so after you practice the chromatic scale up, right? Like now let's practice it down. So we're gonna start on the fourth fret with our fourth finger. Okay. And then we're gonna go to the third fret with our third finger. That is our ring finger. Then we're gonna go to the second fret with our second finger. That is our middle finger. And then we're going to go to the first fret with our first finger, right? That is our index finger on our left hand. Okay? And then the last one is just going to be open E string. Just like that. Okay? So let's practice that one more time. So fourth fret with your pinky finger, right? And then pluck first string, right? And then third fret with your third finger, pluck. Then second fret with your second finger, pluck. Then your first fret with your first finger, pluck. Then open E, last note. Okay. So go ahead and pause this video, practice that until it feels comfortable. Okay? Then let's move on to slide number 7. Okay. So remember, when you're practicing this chromatic scale, and any scale for that matter, use proper technique. You got to get yourself into a good habit of using proper technique. So remember, with your right hand, alternate I and M, index and middle. So when I'm practicing that, I'm going index, middle, index, middle, right? Index, middle, index, middle, okay? And then index to end, all right? So just alternating index the whole entire time. You could also start with middle if you want. You could go middle, index, whatever you want to do. Okay, also remember to keep those fingers curved, right? So like I mentioned earlier, none of that kind of like bending inward stuff that students always want to do. So like none of this, especially with the third finger, it seems to happen a lot. So none of that. Keep it curved, okay? And that that's going to go for each of these. So like first finger, second finger, third finger, and fourth finger. So if you can see that there. So none of this kind of like pad of the finger. Okay, keep those fingers curved. Keep your thumb on the back of the neck, right? Don't bend your thumb. And use those fingertips, right? Okay, so also let's do our chromatic scale one more time before we move on, but let's practice it with whole notes. So I'm going to play each note of the chromatic scale as a whole note. That is, we'll give each one 4 beats each, just like this. Okay, 1, 2, 3, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? So I played it up, all right, and I used whole notes. Let's do the same thing, except let's play it down now. So we'll start on the 4th fret and go all the way to the open string. Ready, go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so practice that every time you practice your guitar now, right? That's one of your exercises that you should practice throughout the semester.